Eto. Dito tayo sa, kita nyo naman, ayan. Elements of style and its mechanics. Pag sinabi nating style, hindi yung gayak ninyo, yung pagkakagayak nung report ninyo. Kasi nga, report writing to. So when we say style, it is the way a writer puts together sentences to come up with a coherent, unified, and correct paragraphs. Kumbaga, kung papaano ang dating nito sa reader, yun yung style. Kung papaano siya napagsama-sama yung mga paragraphs or yung mga sentences at the very least para magkaroon ng isang idea na nagko-convey ng meaning. Okay, when we say mechanics, these are all the details of the written language. Bakit hindi nagne-next? Ayan. These are all the details of the written language. And we also have conventions of language, punctuations, capitalizations, abbreviations, numbers, and spellings. So lahat ng ito ay importante para sa pagbuo ninyo ng mga technical reports. Kasi kung hindi, sagot kayo, lalo na sa mga pangalan. If you are, later on, i-discuss naman natin yan. If you are to become law enforcement officer, sabihin natin sa PNP or sa BFP or sa BJMP, may tamang paraan ng pagsusulat ng pangalan nila, hindi basta-basta yon. So, punctuations muna tayo. So, the functions is to separate group of words for meaning and emphasis. This is also uh, included in order to convey an idea of the variations in pitch, volume, pauses, and intonation. Napag-usapan nga natin to kanina, di ba, na mahalaga yung intonation. Kaya mahalaga ang isang bagay na makatutulong doon para mas magkaintindihan kayo ng reader mo o ay ang paglalagay ng punctuation marks. Kung galit ka, dapat exclamation. Pag may sinasabi ka lang, share mo lang, period, 'di ba? Kapag may mga bagay na pinaghihiwa-hiwalay ka, pwede kang gumamit ng mga commas. Okay. So this is also there, punctuations are also there in order to help avoid ambiguity para hindi maging malabo ang isang word or ang isang sentence, ang isang idea. Yan. First is apostrophe. This is used to form most possessives, contractions, as well as plurals and inflections of words. So dito, for example, the field operative's work is accurate. Ibig sabihin, pag ganyan, apostrophe S doon sa operative, patungkol yan doon sa report na ang gumawa daw niyan, ang gumawa nitong report ay yung field operative. Kaya nga siya possessive. Yun ang term, possess. Nagmamay-ari. Sino daw ang gumawa ng report? Yung field operative. And then, it is also used in this sentence, she wasn't in the hearing yesterday. This is an example of a contraction. Wasn't, hasn't, haven't, yung mga yan. Isn't, aren't, okay, contractions. Usually used kapag ganyan, was not, have not, is not, yan. Okay? At ang apostrophe is in between letter N and letter T, ha? Hindi siya doon sa first word. Hindi siya yung W-A-S, apostrophe N-T, mali yun. Okay, next is colon. It is used to mark an introduction, indicating that what follows, it generally is a clause, a phrase, or a list. For example, for example, yung example na to, diba? For example, tapos colon. Ibig sabihin, yung kasunod niya ay mga example. O, itong una. The judge has trial experience on 3 judicial levels, county, state, and federal. So, this is a list. Listahan ng mga judicial level kung saan may trial experience daw yung judge. So, listahan yan, county, state, and federal. Tapos, the issue comes down to this. Will death penalty be legalized or not? Ayun. Okay. And then we are required to pass the following initial progress and final reports of the case. So it is also considered a list. Ayan. And then comma. This is used to separate items in a series and to set off or distinguish grammatical elements within sentences. So first, the suspect was described as tall, has brown complexion, medium build, and between 20 to 25 years old. So, pinaghihiwa-hiwalay niya nga yung mga item na yon dito sa sentence na to. And then hyphen. This is used to join the element of compound nouns and modifiers such as the officer in charge. Ayan. Oh, I see. Of the case is on leave. And then parenthesis. This is used to enclose material that is inserted into a main statement but is not intended to be an essential part of it. Kumbaga, sabihin na natin, dagdag comment. Ayun, 6 patrol cars, all outdated models. Kumbaga, di mo lang talaga kailangan yung impormasyon na yon para maintindihan yung sentence. Kasi kung sinabi lang dyan, the 6 patrol cars will be replaced. So, no, alam natin, papalitan yung 6 na patrol car na yon. Pero dito, parang sinama niya pa yung dahilan. Or, yung 6 patrol cars na yon ay mga outdated model. So, siguro, yun na nga. Para lang ma madagdagan yung information. Ayan, may all outdated models. Share niya lang. And then we also have period. This serves to mark the end of a sentence or an abbreviation. So there is a vehicular accident in the Marcelo Fernan Bridge. Attorney Balbasar teaches law subjects in the College of Criminal Justice. Yun. And then quotation marks from the word itself. Quotation. Root word is quote. Pag sinabi natin quote, ito ay isang bagay na sinabi ng iba at gagamitin mo rin sa sentence mo or doon sa report mo. These are used to enclose quoted statements in a regular text. Sabi dyan, not guilty, Your Honor, said the rapist. So, ito daw yung sabi ng rapist. Okay, kinote natin siya. Okay, next is capitalization. Ito yung mga bagay kung saan, o pagkakataon kung saan tayo nagka-capitalize. So the first word of sentences are capitalized. Alam niyo na to, there are criminal. Abbreviated forms of proper nouns and adjectives are capitalized. For example, general, yan, NBI, SOCO, PIDEA, PNP. Lahat yan dapat ay capitalized. Hindi pwede na small yan dahil these are proper nouns. Okay? And then, names of academic degrees are capitalized when they follow a person's name. So, ayan. R-crim. Capital din ang C kasi it's another word. R stands for registered and then C is for criminologist. Ganun din sa PhD. Ayan. Capital P, small h, and then period, then capital D, then kulang ng period. And then, ito pa. CSP, Certified Security Professional. Okay. And then full names of legislative, deliberative, executive, and administrative bodies are capitalized, such as, ayan, House of Representatives, Philippine Congress, Philippine National Police. And then the names of some historical and cultural periods and movement are capitalized. The Fifth Republic, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment period. Yan, baka na-take up nyo na yan. Capitalized dapat yon yung mga historical and cultural periods na yon. And also movements. And then, you should also capitalize months, holidays, and days of the week. The bombing happened during the Independence Day. Yan, holiday. Today is Wednesday. Dapat capital ang W sa Wednesday. The month today is September. O capital S sa September. Then all major words of titles and subtitles of books and articles should be capitalized. So copies of the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology, kasama yung the dito sa title niya. So capital din yan. Okay. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, na kapag gumagamit tayo ng capitalization kapag nasa uniform service, ganito siya. Okay? Mali ito. Pang ano lang 'to, PNP. Hindi siya PNP, BF, BJMP. Okay, so ngayon ito na yung gamit natin. 'Pag police lieutenant, ganito siya, PLT. Police captain, PCAP. Then police major, and PMaj. Yan, basahin niyo na lang. So sa military, ganun din. Kaibahan lang, wala silang second lieutenant. Sorry, walang second lieutenant at first lieutenant sa PNP. Meron lang silang lieutenant. Okay? Pero same. Ayan. Okay. Take note sa ranking ng mga police. Nilalagay ang police sa una. Kapag ito ha, commissioned officer. When we say commissioned officer, these are members of the uniform service who are who has the rank of lieutenant to general. Yung mga, sabi na, opisyal. Yan yung term natin sa Tagalog. Yan yung mga opisyal. Teniente hanggang general. Yan yan. Pero sa BFP, BJMP, nananatili yung fire senior superintendent, fire lieutenant, fire inspector. Yan. Ganun din sa jail. Jail senior inspector, jail director. Okay? And sa non-commissioned officers, ito siya. Kapag PNP, patrolman, corporal, staff sergeant, master sergeant, senior master sergeant, chief master sergeant, and executive master sergeant. So, pansinin ninyo, ang abbreviation niya, ganito, and the capital letters, itong mga to. Police corporal. So, yung police, yung letter P, and then yung corporal. Ito, bakit ma'am tatlo yung capital? Kasi police, staff, sergeant. Yan. Small ang G. Ito, syempre capital lahat dito kasi FO1, FO2, FO3. In the military, ganito sila sinusulat. Private. Sa Army to ha. Iba kasi sa Air Force at sa Navy. Pero ito yung sa Army. Private, private first class, corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, technical sergeant, and master sergeant. So for example, these are sample names ng mga commissioned officers. Sinabi natin commissioned officers, opisyal. Yan, Police Director General Ronald M. De La Rosa. Take note, kapag nagsusulat tayo ng pangalan ng mga nasa uniform service, hindi gumagamit ng punctuation marks. Maliban sa parenthesis, kapag may mga schooling sila, nilalagay yun. For example, ito. Ronald M. De La Rosa. Kung tayo magsusulat, nilalagyan natin ng tuldok dito sa middle initial natin, di ba? Pero sa kanila, hindi nilalagyan. Kuha nyo. Ayan. Kapag police, ganito. Ito yung dating rank. And then, fire inspector, Omar G. Pangan. Kapag opisyal, capital lahat. Okay, capital lahat ng pagkakasulat sa pangalan. Anong patay na kapag may period sa pangalan? Hindi.
Ano po ma'am kasi sa ROTC kaya po hindi pinapalagyan sa amin ng period kapag yung middle initial po namin. Indication din daw po yun ng kapag patay na yung officer.
Hindi ko sure yan. Pwede, tanong natin. Pero as far as we are concerned, sa report, hindi naman lalabas yung mga patay, di ba? So, ilalagay natin ito. Ganito sila sinusulat. Capital letters. And then, kapag non-commissioned officers naman, of course, susundin natin yung rules sa English na ang capitalized ang mga proper nouns. So, ito, yung dating rank, PO2. Yan, Frederick Darrell, yun. Yun lang ang mga gagamitin nito. Ang gagamitan ng capitalized. Pero sentence case ang gagamitin. Kumbaga, ang capitalized lang is yung first letter ng name and then the rest is in small letters. Okay? Ganyan siya. By the way, in the military, nilalagay sa dulo kung ano yung branch of service. PA, PAF, and TN. At ang isa pang pagkakataon, yung nabanggit ko kanina, kung saan merong punctuation marks, ay kapag may parenthesis. Okay, pakita natin. Wait lang. Nyari, ito. Kita nyo ba? GSC. Familiar kayo sa GSC? Mga nag-ROTC?
Yes, ma'am.
Ano yun?
General Staff Corps, ma'am.
Core? Sure ka? Sure ka? Di ka sure. Para saan yan?
Sure, ma'am.
Para saan?
Yan, ma'am, yung mga yan yung schooling ng mga official, ma'am.
Official. So, tenyente, pwede na mag-GSC.
So, tenyente, ma'am, by ranking, ma'am, kasi yan, ma'am, eh.
GSC is only taken up kapag major ka na or lieutenant colonel. Depende kung makapasok ka. And then, it's a requirement for you to be promoted full colonel. Okay. Next is abbreviation. It is a shortened form of a word or phrase. The abbreviated word is pronounced exactly the same as the full word. So, for example, use abbreviations for titles like Mr., Miss, and Doctor. Mr. and Miss. Ilalagay, Mrs. Ilalagay mong ganyan, pero pag sinalita mo siya, Mr. pa rin. Hindi mo sasabihin, Mer. Okay? So, pag binasa ito, Mr. and Mrs. Mercedes will testify in court. Ganun siya babasahin. Okay. And then, abbreviate academic degrees after names and separate it with a comma. Ma'am, paano kapag madami? O, di madaming comma. MD, comma, JD, comma, PhD. Okay. And then, do not abbreviate. Do not abbreviate titles if it is not used with a proper name. My friend Dan, who is a police inspector, specializes in ballistics. So, bakit dito buo? Kasi nga, it is not used with a proper name. Eh kung sinabi mong, my friend, police inspector Dan, specializes in ballistics, yun, yung police inspector ay magiging abbreviated siya. Okay? Next is the technical writing process. So first is the pre-writing stage or the planning. In the pre-writing stage, writers discover the dimensions of their topic. In this stage, writers use a number of techniques to discover everything they need to know to write clearly. They treat this stage carefully. Experienced writers ask and clearly answer 8 important questions. Ito yung mga yon. Who is my audience? What is my goal in this writing situation? What constraints affect this situation? What are the basic facts? What is the expected final form of the document? What is an effective outline? What format and visual aids should I use? And what tone should I use? As a writer, you must ask these questions. The more you clarify the answers, the more easily you will generate the document. So first is, who is my audience? The audience is the person or person who will read your document. The more you clarify who they are, the better you can write to them. Pag mas kilala mo kasi yung ah, magbabasa, kung mas kilala mo yung reader mo, mas magagawa mo ng maayos yung report mo. Kung ibibigay mo ang isang report sa mas mataas ang ranggo sa'yo, syempre yung mga gagamitin mong words doon ay sabihin na natin mas respectful. Okay? So you should ask these questions about your audience. Who will read this document? How much do they know about the topic? For example, kung ang audience mo ay maalam naman na doon sa report na gagawin mo, so pwede kang gumamit ng mga jargons. Pero kung layman sila, wala silang idea, so kailangan gagamit ka ng mga layman terms, yung mga words na mas maiintindihan ng iba. So, hindi ka pwede gumamit ng jargons. Maliban na lang kung yung gagamitin mong jargon, explain mo rin doon sa report mo. And then, why do they need the document? In order for you to incorporate the details they actually need, yung mga bagay na gagamitin nila, kailangan mailagay mo siya doon. And then, what will they do with it or because of it? Anong gagawin nila pag nakuha na nila yung report mo? So next is, what is my goal in this situation? You actually have two goals: to communicate a specific message and to achieve a specific purpose. In other words, you ask and answer two questions. So what is my basic message? What is my purpose? And in general, your message is your content. Your purpose is how you want to affect your audience. Siyempre, yung message mo, yung actual na nilalaman ng report. Kung ito ay isang spot report, kung ito ay incident report, o yung content nun, yun ay yung mismo mong mensahe. Then what constraints affect this situation? Constraints are physical and psychological factors that affect your ability to write the document. By thinking about constraints such as time and money, you achieve a clear picture of how you can produce the document. Experienced writers think through constraints carefully in order to eliminate frustration. So, sabi dito, how long should it be? Long enough to cover the topic sufficiently. You know that people will ignore a long, complicated document, so it has to be relatively short. Kung naguluhan kayo doon, ang sinasabi lang dyan, basta kahit gaano pa kahaba yan, basta yung mga bagay na kailangan lang doon sa dokumento, yung nandoon. Kahit mahaba yan, pero wala naman siyang mga palabok, wala siyang mga flowery words, ay okay lang. Pero hanggat maaari, it should be relatively short. And then, will the project cost money? Probably not. If you do not do it at the office or lab and use all the available facilities and paper. Kasi kung nagpaplano ka pa lang naman, wala ka pang ginagawang printing ng madaming bagay. Ito, kumbaga, minimal pa lang ang expenses mo dito, lalo na kung may gamit naman kayo sa opisina ninyo. And then, how will you produce the document? You will use a computer program and printer that you have easy access to. Next is, what are the basic facts? Determining the basic facts for your work is a key planning activity. You must spend time collecting these facts by reading, interviewing, or observing. You must decide exactly which procedures you want to include. You also need to know the basic facts about each procedure. You would begin to list the procedures, determining the items in the list by considering your audience's needs. So, kailangan, of course, ma-incorporate mo lahat ng mga, tawag dito, lahat ng mga basic facts. Kasi kung wala ang basic facts, hindi magkakaroon ng sense yung mga sunod mo na sasabihin. Kasi, kunyari, ito ang report, para madali intindihin. Kung ito ang report, dito yung basic facts, then put more details below. And then what is the expected final form? Many technical writing documents require a particular final form. If you know what form is expected, you have a place to start. Knowing what is expected makes documents easier to write because you know which information to include and where to place it. Parang sa research, pag nag-enroll na kayo ng research, may bibigay na format sa inyo. Ano ba yung mga nilalaman sa chapter 1? Ano yung nilalaman sa chapter 2, sa chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. Although yung ibang school wala silang chapter 5, hanggang 4 lang. Pero yun nga, alam mo rin kung saan ipepwesto yung acknowledgement mo, saan ang title page, saan ang table of contents, saan ang dedication, yung mga ganong bagay. Alam mo na, sabi nga dito, you know where to place it and which information is needed or should be included in that document. Kasi kung sa research, ay kailangan pala ng review of related literature. Kailangan pala ng theoretical framework. Meron pa palang research paradigm. Yung mga yun, kumbaga, naka-enumerate na yung mga parts ng research mo. Okay, what is an effective outline? You should first construct a preliminary outline. The indented outline is common. An informal list of major and minor points you want to make. Sinabi nating outline, literal na may outline na doon, may mga linya na susundin na. Katulad nga nung binigay, yung sinabi nating format. It may also be considered an outline. But when you are writing, ang outline mo is minor points and then major points. So without such an order, you can easily go off on tangents or needlessly repeat material. Kung wala kang outline, baka magpaulit-ulit ka lang ng sasabihin at makalimutan mo yung mga bagay na dapat pala nandun. The standard form of the document will often provide you with a broad outline, and results of your investigations during the planning stage will provide you with the fine points. Next is, what format and visual aids shall I use? It is important to select a format and choose visual aids that will help and not hinder your message. The two basic format elements are margins and heads. May mga specific na sukat ang margins. Depende sa kung anong klaseng report yan. For example, sa research, kapag ipiprint nyo na yan, mas malaki ang margin sa kaliwa kumpara sa kanan. Pero kapag yung usual report lang, yung piniprint lang talaga, equal yan ang margin niya sa lahat ng sides. And then you must also choose visual aids, such as pictures, tables, graphs, and drawings that clarify the topic. Kasi mas maiintindihan kung may visual aid ka nga tumutulong para mas makita mo at maintindihan mo ng maayos yung pinag-uusapan doon. Visual aids will help convey meaning more clearly than words. Parang pag sinabi mo, 30% of the population of AUF are business administration students, 10% of which are BSBA marketing. Ganun. Kung babasahin mo, medyo mahirap intindihin. Pero kung naka-pie chart siya, mas madali siyang intindihin. 30% BA. Tapos doon sa 30, yung 10% nun ay marketing ang course. Ganun. Okay? The easiest way to explain the process to your audience is to make a visual aid of the screen. The more visuals you can select before you start to write, the easier your writing will be. And then what tone should I use? You must consider the tone of your document. It means what your writing sounds like. Should it sound funny or serious? Should you give silly examples or in-jokes from work? Technical writers usually try to sound serious, but not so serious that they sound like robots. Okay. When you're writing technical reports, mas mainam na walang mga in-jokes. But if you are just writing your, sabihin natin, daily report or kung ano pang report, okay lang yon. Okay, but again, technical report, hindi ginagawa yon because yun ang nature ng isang technical report eh. Diba? Technical nga siya, ibig sabihin mga bagay na related lang dun sa matter. Okay, the other stage is drafting or the writing stage. After mo mag-plan, eto na. Gagawa ka na ng draft. In the writing stage, you produce drafts. You already have done careful planning and produced an outline. And now you start the actual writing. You try to put on paper the words that explain the ideas in your outline. Theoretically, if you have planned thoroughly, all you need to do is flesh out the outline and describe the visual aids. You must select, reject, and reformulate your words and sentences and find the organization that best conveys your meaning. So, kahit na nagplano ka na, may chance pa rin na mapalitan yun. Okay? La lalo na sa stage na to kapag sinusulat mo na. Dahil dun mo marirealize na yung mga nilagay mo sa outline mo na, for example, nilagay mo sa outline mo ay minor subject or minor topic. Di mo na-realize major pala yun. Yun. Mariresolve mo siya dito sa stage na to. The object of drafting is to produce and to improve writing until it effectively conveys your message to the reader. Drafting has two primary aspects, clarifying and discovering. So as you draft, you clarify your ideas for the reader. During drafting, you clarify this material, changing your initial, often hard rounder stand rusts into prose that is clear to readers. But writing is also discovery. Often, as you write, you will suddenly conceive of new ideas or new ways to present your examples. Parang ngayon, may sinusubukan kaming gawing script para sa isang movie or short film. Sa stage na to, ako, nagpaplano pa lang ako. Kumbaga, nagre-research pa ako ano yung mga magandang linyahan, ano yung mga magandang i-incorporate na values. Pero kapag nagsusulat na, yung mga naisip mo noon, pwedeng hindi mo na siya isama, pwedeng hindi na siya maging applicable kasi nga naka-discover ka ng bago at mas magandang ilalagay doon sa report mo or doon sa in my case, doon sa script. Okay. You must evaluate these new ideas, deciding whether to use or reject them. As you write, you might suddenly see that you should delete one visual aid and replace it with a better one. Kaya pag nagsusulat talaga ng kahit ano, reports, other researches, maya-maya, maya't-maya, nagpapalit ka ng mga nakalagay doon. May dinadagdag ka, may binabawas ka. So on. The replacement will lead you to write completely different but clearer instructions for the operation in question. In fact, you may discover an entirely new way to organize and approach the whole topic, one that causes you to discard much of your tentative planning. Good writers give themselves enough time to incorporate the insights that they discover in the drafting stage. Alam nyo, ang balita ko, yung mga K-drama, kung nanonood kayo ng mga ganun, parang 1 year in advance daw na sinusulat. Kaya, kung mapapansin ninyo, magandang-maganda sila. Tapos buo silang sinushoot. Hindi katulad sa dito sa Pilipinas, ang kwento lang naman sa akin, wala din akong proof. Pero, hindi siya buo. Kumbaga, pag may episode, pwede siyang tsaka palang isusulat daw yung next episode. Yun ang kwento ha, wala akong proof. Pero, inire-relate lang natin dito sa topic natin na yung practice sa K-dramas ay maganda dahil buong script siya na nilalagay. Parang sa mga movie, buong script ang binibigay sa mga artista bago nila may tinatawag kasing script reading bago sila nag-i-script read. So yun, kompleto na yun sa script nila. And then your planning will give you a good sense of your audience and your content. As a result of your words will flow better dahil mas napag-isipan mo siya. Kaya mahalaga na nagda-draft kasi nakakapag-edit-edit ka pa. But in addition, you must have a sense of what to do as you manipulate words. 3 areas which you should consider when drafting are style, organization, and reader interest. Yung paraan mo pa ba ng pagsusulat ay interesting para sa mga readers mo? Nakakapukaw ba ng atensyon? So, ano ba yung style na sinasabi dito sa drafting or writing stage? So, what is a good sentence? You should try to write shorter sentences to achieve the active voice, to use parallelism, and to use words the reader understands. So, yung mga madaling intindihin, yung walang jargon. You will not always achieve this in the first draft, but you will be amazed how much you can achieve them in a if you can achieve even in a first draft if you develop an awareness of them. Basta, ang sinasabi dyan, ang mahalaga ay alam mo kung ano yung mga bagay na dapat mong ma-incorporate lang. And try to write your report in a very concise manner. Organization. What is a clear organization? The strategies that make ideas easy to grasp are the obvious organization strategies. You need to remember to make lists, repeat key terms, use heads, use definitions, and use terms the reader can understand. Yan. Activities that will help you when you get stuck pag wala ka nang maisip na idagdag, wala ka nang maisip na isulat na mental block ka. Brainstorming. This means listing every single item you can think of about your topic. Just start a list. Kahit ano lang. Pag may word na naisip, bigla lang nag-pop sa head mo. Sulat mo. Just start a list. Yun nga sabi dyan. Write down everything, whether or not it seems relevant. Parang yung ginagawa ko nga ngayon. Lahat ng nakikita kong magandang scenes, nilalagay ko. Nililista ko. Ano yung mga magandang kalabas na pwedeng pagkopyahan ng mga shots nila. Yung mga drone shots na maganda, yung mga single shot, yung mga ganun. Okay. You will generate enough material to expand into a good section. Not everything you list will be something that you can use. Hindi mo talaga magagamit lahat yun dahil sa sobrang dami at sa sobrang random ng mga pinagsusulat mo. But much of it will be. As you continue to list, uh, more items will come to mind. Brainstorming can help you generate ideas at any stage of the writing process, but it is especially effective when you are stuck. And then lastly is the post-writing stage. So in post-writing, the last stage in the process, you craft the document into a product that effectively guides your reader through the topic. This stage consists of two types of activities, editing and producing the document. Post-writing, tapos ka nang magsulat kasi dito ka nagsulat, di ba? Drafting or writing stage. Ito na yung pag-i-edit at pagpuproduce na ng document. Kumbaga, andyan na lahat. I-check mo na lang kung tama ba, kung maganda ba ang flow, maganda ang itsura ng document mo. When we say editing, this means to develop a consistent, accurate text. Change the document until it is right. You check spelling, punctuation, basic grammar, format of the page, and accuracy of facts. You make the text agree with various rules of presentation. When you edit, ask yourself, is this correct? Is this consistent? Para sure ka na maayos ang buong document mo. Construct checklists in which you list all the possible problems that you will check for. Then read your document for all the instances of one problem. For instance, first read for apostrophes, then for heading consistency, then for spelling errors, then for consistency in the format. Kumbaga, ilista mo rin kung ano-ano yung mga bagay na dapat mong i-check, dapat ma-edit. And then producing the document. Producing a document has two dimensions, the physical completion of the document and the psychological completion of it. When we say physical completion, this means typing or printing the final document. Kasi physical nga, literal na may nahahawakan ka ng dokumento. This dimension takes energy and time. Although physical completion is usually a minor factor in brief papers, it is a major factor in longer documents, often taking more time than the drafting stage. So, mas matagal pa mag-edit, mas matagal pang mag-print. When we say psychological completion, this means to attend to your emotions as you near completion and to manage your time properly. Kontento ka na ba? Happy ka na ba doon sa resulta ng draft mo? Poor writing is often the result of finishing too soon. Minadali. If you prematurely decide that you are finished, you probably will not listen to other readers' suggestions. Often these suggestions are very good, and if you acted on them, you could produce a much better document. If you have finished too soon, however, such suggestions only cause frustration because you don't want to be bothered with reworking a document you feel you have completed. So, tingin mo tapos na. Ramdam mo tapos na. Tapos, ah, may nagbigay pa ng suggestion. Tapos tingin mo parang okay yun. Parang mafo-frustrate ka kasi, edit ko na naman, magsusulat na naman ako. Ganun yung feeling mo. Okay?